Okay, yeah, that's a good answer. Okay, yes, sir?
My question is for Tom. Did you hear about Andrew McGuire's testimony before the Commodity Futures Trading Commission about the manipulation of silver and also the oversale of gold in the British market by 100 times?
If this is the thing that I saw on YouTube, is this the guy who was reading his presentation extremely fast because he had only 5 minutes? I wish he had just cut his presentation down. But yeah, I did. But I personally, I don't have any particular insight into that. Although it, on a topic like that, I consider myself just to be just an average layman. But it certainly seems to me to have some substance. But I can't comment beyond that. I mean, maybe Bob knows more about that subject.
No, I think you asked me this. No, sorry.
Yeah, I should, but I'm afraid I don't. Yes, sir?
Thank you. Tim Bennett from Polk County. I wanted to ask you, gentlemen, if you're familiar with a report that I found in April. It's being published. I found it through Jim O'Neill, the chief economic strategist at Goldman Sachs. He was a contributing author to it, and he was talking about it in the media. It was written by a group called Chatham House, which is really the Royal Institute for International Affairs in London. And it's called Beyond the Dollar. Are you gentlemen familiar with that report?
I'm not.
No, sorry.
Okay. It outlines the IMF and World Bank and their strategy to stop the dollar as the world reserve currency. And it outlines a multipolar regional currency and then moving to the IMF SDR. So it's certainly an important policy paper from them. And I'd encourage everybody to check it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I just follow up on that, it's true. So I haven't read that particular thing, but I mean, it used to be, 2 years ago, people thought you were nuts if you talked about a global currency or that kind of stuff. And now, I mean, there's things like the Russian president, I think it was last year, was holding up where he said this is going to be the new world currency, and it wasn't the U.S. dollar. And like various countries are talking openly about, well, what if we move to a basket of currencies and the IMF would issue, special drawing rights? So I mean, everyone is openly discussing the day when the dollar's no longer. I mean, because I think they all know it's coming. I mean, as much as we know how scary this stuff is, can you imagine when Geithner and Bernanke meet behind closed doors and they're like, what are we gonna do? I mean, because they know stuff we don't know.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. Bill Paulson from Minnesota. If you were to, I guess, opt for trying to still play the electoral politics and find a solution there, I mean, I've had discussions with people at the grassroots who are Democrats, and they understand precisely the numbers you laid out, the $60 trillion, $100 trillion of unfunded liabilities and that. And is there any possibility for an alliance between, constitutional libertarians and conservatives and, I guess, fiscally minded progressives, if that's not a contradiction in terms? But at least some people, I guess, who aren't in leadership, but people who perceive themselves as fiscally conservative independents, where they have a strategy where what they want to do is both raise taxes and cut benefits to try to balance these numbers out. Do you have any comment on an electoral strategy of trying to find some alliance that, libertarians could tolerate in that regard?
Yeah, I can't imagine it being an electoral strategy. What I would imagine would be that people of those varying points of view would be able to come together simply to alert people to the existence of the problem and say, no, frankly, we admit that we disagree on how to solve it, but the fact that it is hardly being talked about. I mean, really, almost no one is talking about it. No one's ever heard the gigantic astronomical figures that we've cited today in terms of the unfunded liabilities. So I think they could accomplish that, and some of them have tried to do that. This David Walker, who's the former comptroller, I guess, David Walker seems to me to be moderately left in that he, right. He's not saying, abolish anything certainly, but he does think something's got to be cut, something's got to be raised. But it just seems like, unfortunately, given the way the system is, the system relies on. I mean, it's like the public choice. Some of you have heard of the public choice school, which has a lot of valuable things to say about how governments work. And one of the things it says that you don't have to be a public choicer to believe this, but that we hear a lot about how democracy is all about, bringing together the wisdom of the people. But the way the system is set up, it encourages the ignorance of the people, because what possible incentive, other than just pure philosophical commitment, would I have to become really informed about issues when my one single vote isn't going to have any effect on any of it? But whereas other uses of my time, instead of information gathering about political questions, if I use my time for other purposes, I can in fact do things that benefit me. So I have every incentive to be as ignorant as you can imagine on politics. And so given that, we do have a lot of people in the country who don't even know this is a problem. And so if you're going to pit two candidates against each other, one saying, look, folks, we've got to be honest, this is a major problem and somebody's got to solve it, and another one saying, man, you fat cat, rich guy who only wants tax cuts for the rich and wants to cut everybody's benefits. How dare you? You know, we'll find the money somehow if we have to take it out of your retirement account. That guy's going to win, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that, I would like to think we live in a country in which the first guy might have a fighting chance, but when you're in a society where most of the people are educated by the very government that screws them, it just makes it very hard to discuss a serious topic, so that even the good guys, I mean, politics is an arena in which even the good guys have to basically be careful about what they say and not really give their full opinion, and then we, their supporters, have to say, well, you know, he's just saying that to get elected. In no other field would we, I mean, like if we heard that a CEO of a corporation was just brazenly lying, we wouldn't say, well, you know, he's just got to say that, you know, to promote his product, right? No, we'd say, hey, this crook, why doesn't he go take a hike? So I don't know. I'm not optimistic. Yeah. There's an easy political solution to it.
Yeah, I guess maybe, you know, an ideal situation would be if you had the center-left guy who was honest about the numbers, and then the constitutional conservative who was honest about the numbers, and then the people would have a choice.
Yeah.
To be educated, but.
Yeah, but I just don't see the prospect for it. I'd love to think that could happen. Yeah.